Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bonnie if you're new, and I would love if you subscribe. Before I get started, it took me a while to find a place to film in my house, and I would just like to say that I feel like it should be everybody's right to feel comfortable speaking in their own home. Because my walls are paper thin, and I actually listened to where my neighbors were, because if they're not talking, I might not know what room they're in, so I was listening for a minute. Nope, they're in the bedroom. That's where I usually film. And I don't have a lot of cute places to film, so it took me a while to think of where to film. But it should be your right to feel comfortable speaking in your own home without having people hear you, because you're in your own home that I pay a decent amount of money for, you know? So anyways, we're here to talk about closing Hannah's stoma. I didn't want to close the stoma from coring it. I didn't like anything about it. I didn't really like the ENT. I called Calgary's Children's Hospital, which is the next province over, and spoke to the surgical nurse, and she told me that they close it a bunch of different ways, and she was really informative on the phone. She said that they do a bunch of different ways. Most of the time it's the stitching method that I like. Depends on the patient themselves. She was really friendly on the phone, and then I hung up the phone and I called BC Children's Hospital, tried to talk to the surgical nurse. Did talk to the surgical nurse, who knew nothing, because she said she's not in there and she didn't know anything. So I didn't get any information from BC Children's, and I was getting the information I wanted and the surgery I wanted from Calgary Hospital. So I went to this appointment last week being like, okay, if ENT doesn't agree with me, I'm just gonna go to Calgary, except for the problem with going out of town, out of province, is that it's not covered under medical all the time, and that they thought it'd be cosmetic, so it might not be free. Last time the ENT was really annoyed that the girls were talking and playing, and I think they might have been bickering and had been a long day, but that's kids and you're in pediatrics. So I didn't give them the iPads before we went to this appointment, knowing that as soon as I give them the iPads, they'll be glued to it and they'll be quiet. So he was annoyed that there was sound on the iPads, but what do you want from me? Seriously. We were going over Hannah's chart, and he was like, oh yeah, the old ENT failed to decannulate. He was just reading through it. This has nothing to do with it. He's just like, failed to decannulate. And then he's like, oh, but he must have succeeded because the trach is out. But when he said that, I thought about why she failed at decannulating, because they removed granulation tissue from her airway and then tried to cap the trach, and she failed because her airway was swollen and angry. It just had surgery. And she did just fine a couple weeks later when she didn't just have surgery. So I thought about that while he was going over everything. And then we got back to talking about the surgery. He said they just removed a small amount of tissue around the stoma, which I don't think that's what the pictures that I've seen and the research that I've seen. It looks like they removed quite a bit more. But he said they removed a tiny bit of the tissue around the stoma and then put a really small trach in, which is what they would use in newborn babies, so it would be more of a neonatal size, and I've seen those. They are extremely small, and they barely even go into a bigger person's airway. They would just be a tiny little thing, and he said that they stay in overnight, or if she really doesn't like it, you can take it out. It's not really a big deal. So that's exactly pretty much what he said to me last time, but because we just talked about the trach, about how she didn't get her trach out the first time, I thought about how her airway might be a little bit irritated if we were just cutting out some of her airway, and it might be inflamed and angry, so maybe she will need a trach, and maybe it is a good idea that she has the trach overnight, and then at that part I calmed down. And he said that he doesn't like to stitch the stoma because sometimes you're stretching it to close, and that sometimes it rips open, which isn't exactly what I heard. I heard air trapping was the reason why they don't like to do it. But that does kind of make sense. I mean, her airway, the hole is already pretty close, so I don't really feel like it's stretching that much. I still feel like I might prefer that method, but it's a really big hassle to get that method. And then I asked him what is it called? What is it called when it's something bad? I asked him I asked him all the things that, I don't know what it's called. I asked him what the risks were, but it wasn't really a risk, or what, if it's never healed properly or something's gone wrong, kinda. I feel like there was a word that I'm still not thinking of. Anyways, and then he said he has never had a problem doing it this way. He's never seen it not heal or had a child anything bad happen from it. And BC Children's Hospital has been doing it for 5 years, and that they got it from Toronto Kids Hospital, and they've been doing it for a lot longer and also have seen only good results. So I feel like just because he actually sat down and explained it to me, which I asked him to do when she had her surgery in November and he wouldn't, it just made me think about it differently. Like when you hear it all again, you have different, you can process it again differently, because it wasn't any new information, but this time I'm like, actually I'm okay with it happening this way. But hopefully that's happening in April or May. She's going back into the OR in April or May, I don't know when, but last time she had scar tissue that was blocking 60% of her airway, and then they reduced it down to 30. So as long as it's less than 50% of her airway that's getting blocked, like if it's still just 30, they're going to close it. But if not, in April and May, they're going to reduce it down and then probably reschedule for like June or July to go in and hopefully close it. But he's not going to close the airway if there's scar tissue blocking more than 50% of her airway, so we have to deal with that before we can close it. But hopefully she's gonna have it closed this summer, because how awesome would it be to be able to take her swimming into the beach and lake and stuff and not have to worry, which would be so sweet. Like, I think this will only take like maybe a month to heal. So yeah, anyways, there's me going back on what I said before. It's pretty common for parents to change their mind about something. I don't know, I'm not alone out there, but yeah, that's why I changed my mind and why I feel differently about it. It's nothing that he said, it's just how I thought about it, I guess. Anyways, I'll see you in your next video.